Friday, May 3rd, another episode of Stand Tall. And this day, I want to dive into the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman first, before diving into our verse from The Art of War. So, itchy eyes. All right, so May 3rd, show, not tell, what you know. Those who receive the bare theories immediately want to spew them, as an upset stomach does its food. First, digest your theories and you won't throw them up. Otherwise, they will be raw, spoiled, and not nourishing. After you've digested them, show us your changes in your reasoned choices, just like the shoulders of gymnasts display their diet and training, and as the craft of artisans show in what they've learned. Epictetus, Discourses 3.21.1-3. Many of the Stoic aphorisms are simple to remember and even sound smart when quoted, but that's not what philosophy is about. That's not what it's really about. The goal is to turn these words into works. As Musonius Rufus put it, the justification for philosophy is when one brings together sound teaching with sound conduct. Today, or any time when you catch yourself wanting to condescendingly drop some knowledge that you have, grab it and ask, would I be better saying words or letting my actions and choices illustrate that knowledge for me? All right, so man, that kind of plays into something from today and just kind of being reminded of past successes or gambles, etc., that paid off. And it wasn't really a gamble as much as it was a reasoned choice. And so let's go to the Art of War and see what we can find about showing what you know instead of just telling. All right. When the position is such that neither side will gain, that's temporizing ground. Okay. In a position of this sort, even though the enemy offer us an attractive bait, it would be advisable not to stir forth, but rather retreat, thus enticing the enemy in his turn. Then, when part of his army has come out, we may deliver our attack with advantage. And then 8. With regard to narrow passes, if you can occupy them first, let them be strongly garrisoned and await the advent of the enemy. 9. Should the army forestall you in occupying a pass, do not go after him if the pass is fully garrisoned, but only if it is weakly garrisoned. So, in that situation, there's only a few things that you can do, right? And it's either or. If it's strong, don't even bother, and only attack if it's weak and you like desperately need to. Otherwise, don't attack. 10. With regard to precipitous heights, if you are beforehand with your adversary, you should occupy the raised and sunny spots, and there wait for him to come up. 11. If the enemy has occupied them before you, do not follow him, but retreat and try to entice the enemy away. 12. If you are situated at a great distance from the enemy, and the strength of the two armies is equal, it is not easy to provoke a battle, and fighting will be to your disadvantage. 13. These 6 are the principles connected with earth. The general who has attained a responsible post must be careful to study them. And then verse 14 is about the 6 calamities. So let's go over to the alternate translation one more time, and we're going to wrap this up, and we'll be finally moving on to the next verse. And so, on narrow terrain, if you are there first, you should fill it up to await the opponent. If the opponent is there first, do not pursue if the opponent fills the narrows. Pursue if the opponent does not fill the narrows. On steep terrain, if you are there first, occupy the high and sunny side to await the opponent. If the opponent is there first, withdraw from there and do not pursue. Okay? So, being repetitive, right, for the third episode in a row, but that's okay because they really added all of that to one. And again, Lee Kwan saying, these are the configurations of terrain. Generals who do not know them lose. And Mei Yao Chen says, the form of the land is the basis on which the military is aided and victory is established, so it must be measured. It must be measured, right? And so just like you are about to measure what's about to come out of your mouth in response, are you actually needing to say that, or are you being hoity-toity or pompous or a know-it-all, when in fact you should just capture those? And let's just return back to it real quick. Capture those words and grab them. Would I be better saying these words or letting my actions and choices illustrate that knowledge for me? Because believe it or not, as time goes on, your choices do have consequences, and your choices do ultimately matter. And it's those repeated choices, whether good, small, repetitive, just doing good work in the moment when you can, and being a leader when you can, as opposed to being reclusive and sitting behind a TV and being a couch potato and all of these things. Is it measured, right? And so on the daily battle of warfare, right, the daily war of life, you have to be measured in your terrain. And so, like, is it really that smart to be working at 9 o'clock at night when you should be winding down to rest, right? Is it wise to play video games or watch TV in the middle of the day when you know you should be working? And so there's nothing wrong with taking a break and recuperating and spending time on things that are also important to you, such as your family and your hobbies. But don't let that overcome and be a formidable enemy on your terrain, right? So it's all about tempering it and measuring it, right? You have to measure that, and knowing the terrain that you're on in the time frame that you're in is going to lead you to